So I've lived in Halifax for about 9 years now. And I remember before I moved here, I had some pretty clear ideas about what life would be like on the Atlantic coast. And looking back, I have a few realities that I wanted to share. So stick around as I dive into 10 things you should know about living in Halifax. You've got the tourist image versus everyday life. And one of the first times you might have thought about living in Halifax was probably while you were visiting the vibrant downtown area and that bustling boardwalk. Or maybe you were wandering around the Citadel. I don't know. But the first month that I lived here in Halifax, I don't think I left the Lower Water Street area. Seriously, I didn't have a car yet, so I know it very well. But I used to watch those ships cruise in and out of the harbor, from the sailboats, the tall ship Silva, to the cruise ships, and all the boats, all the yachts. And I thought, wow, is this really my life? And now, fast forward to today, there's so much more going on in Halifax. I'll admit it's pretty amazing to have spectacular beaches close by and to be able to enjoy the ocean as part of my everyday life. But every time I drive over one of those bridges, it still takes my breath away. Now let's zoom out from the peninsula. So what is there to do in Halifax if you're not into all the touristy stuff downtown? So outdoor living. Halifax is known as the city of trees and Dartmouth is known as the city of lakes. So on the Dartmouth side, we have Clam Harbour or, Lawrencetown, Surfer's Paradise, absolutely gorgeous beaches. And down on the south side, we've got Queensland Family Beach, which is very family friendly. Just make sure you check the tides before you go. There's Crystal Crescent, where the water is so frigid. But they do have a nude beach, so just make sure you stick to the right part of the beach if you've got littles with you. And then, of course, there are some excellent hiking trails. For outdoor rec, we've got Hemlock Ravine, and one of my personal favorites is Cape Split. If you're looking for kayaking or hiking, we've got various lakes and of course the ocean playground. There's the Shubenacadie Canal System, there's 2 local ski hills, or even if you just want to get out in nature, enjoy some wine, we've got these beautiful wineries happening out near Wolfville, so there is no shortage of places to explore in Nova Scotia. Now, maybe the outdoors isn't your thing. Totally fine, I get it. What about food and drink? Halifax has an amazing local scene from neighborhoods like the Halifax waterfront and Spring Garden in the South End. They're each packed with unique restaurants and bars, weekend markets, food halls, community events that bring people together. There's also several smaller downtown areas or districts. I love Agricola Street in the North End, and then there's also Quinpool Road, each with its own unique vibe. So if you like spending an afternoon exploring, trying new places, supporting local businesses, you are going to love it here. Want to stay connected and up to date on all things lifestyle and real estate in Halifax? Make sure to follow along. I post regularly on what it's like to live here and how the areas are changing. Now, let's talk jobs and opportunity. Halifax has seen some very strong economic growth over the last few years, and I think you'll find openings in nearly everything from tech, healthcare, trades, government, education, remote work, our seafood industry, our winery industry. If you're in the trades like electrical, plumbing, construction, building warships, there's still a very high demand for these skilled workers. So whether you want to work for a major company or even build your own business, the opportunity is here in Nova Scotia. And of course, we're going to talk about housing. Some people assume Halifax is all fishing shacks or colorful row houses. And yes, we do have some of that, but we're actually a mix. We've got newer developments, we've got new suburban neighborhoods and communities. We also have charming older historic properties in historic districts with walkable communities and a range of architectural styles. So whether you're looking for something more modern or if you're looking for something with more character or even something that's just affordable, Halifax offers options. And what about wildlife or the natural environment? Well, depending where you're coming from, you might be surprised to see how much nature we actually have here. I've seen everything from porcupine, deer, coyotes, eagles, just out walking in my community or golfing or driving through the neighborhood. There's a lot more green space and biodiversity than people expect, and that's part of what makes living here so unique. But every city has its challenges, and Halifax is no different. So let's talk transportation. Halifax is definitely car dependent overall, and there are some walkable neighborhoods like downtown on the peninsula. I would say most people drive. Commute times average about 30 minutes, and there are efforts to improve public transit and infrastructure. We still have a lot of catching up to do. And another thing people don't always associate with Halifax, arts and culture, but it's here and it's growing. From venues like the Rebecca Cohn Auditorium, Neptune Theatre, the Museum of Natural History, and our prestigious Art Gallery of Nova Scotia, to seasonal festivals, summer galleries, live music, and local arts organizations, there are a ton of ways to engage and get inspired. With creative spaces, public art, and community events are becoming more of a staple here than ever before. All right, let's talk cost of living. And people sometimes assume that Nova Scotia is cheap or super expensive, depending on what they've heard. But the reality is a lot more nuanced than that. The average selling price of a single family home in Halifax year to date is about $640,000. Yes, it has gone up significantly in recent years, and some might even say that it's corrected. However, still compared to major areas like Toronto or Vancouver, even Calgary, it is still more affordable, and for many, the lifestyle trade-off is absolutely worth it. On the downside, you will pay more taxes. And remember, where you live at the end of the year is what you owe Revenue Canada for. That was a big surprise for me, and it is for a lot of my clients. So call me if you have questions. Your utility costs are going to be higher. We have one power provider, Nova Scotia Power. Property taxes, income taxes, they're all higher. Now, weather and seasons. Lastly, weather and seasons. We definitely get variety here. You'll experience everything from hot, dry summers to snowy winters, a lot of rain, and of course, windy transitions throughout the year. If you're visiting Halifax, you'll want to come between June and October. That's really the ideal time to come, and bring your raincoats and umbrellas, as many as you have. So that's it. 10 realities of living in Halifax. And just like any city in our region, we've got our pros and we've got our cons. But for me, after all of these years, I still wouldn't want to live anywhere else. So if you're thinking about moving to Halifax or selling your home, I would love to be your go-to real estate resource. You can reach out or you can send me a DM anytime. See you in the next video.